Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy SoggyDagger, and today I've got a real treat for you. We're diving headfirst into one of the most iconic, chaotic, and endlessly entertaining zombie games ever made, Dead Rising. Specifically, we'll be talking about the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, a revamped version of the 2006 classic that has long been a favorite for fans of zombie games and sandbox chaos. Now, if you're like me and grew up with the Xbox 360, chances are Dead Rising holds a special place in your heart. Back in the day, it was revolutionary. I mean, how many games let you run wild in a fully explorable mall, fighting off hordes of zombies with everything from katanas to toy lightsabers? It was bonkers, over the top, and downright addictive. But as much as we love the original, let's be honest, it was starting to show its age. Clunky controls, frustrating AI, and some graphical limitations meant that replaying it could feel like a bit of a chore. That's why I've been dying for a remaster, and now that it's here, I've got to say it delivers. This isn't just a nostalgia trip, it's a full-on revival with modern graphics, smoother gameplay, and some much-needed quality of life improvements. In this video, we're going to break it all down. We'll take a close look at the graphics, gameplay, updates, menu enhancements, and even some of the more controversial changes that fans have been talking about. By the end of this review, you'll know whether the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is worth your time, or if you're better off sticking with your old version found on Steam, or better yet, break out the old console and have a go. So grab your camera, stock up on orange juice, and let's jump into the Willamette Mall. Let's start with visuals, because wow, this game has quite the glow up. If you've ever played the original Dead Rising, you'll immediately notice the difference. Back in 2006, the Xbox 360 and even the more recent conversion over to Steam was impressive for its time, but the hardware has its limits. Textures were muddy, character models were basic, and lighting effects were minimal, but the remaster changes all of that in a big way. The Willamette Mall, which is basically a character in its own right, has never looked better. Every corner of the mall has been lovingly recreated with sharper textures, improved lighting, and more detailed environments. You can almost smell the food court or feel the grime in the maintenance tunnels. The lighting, in particular, adds so much atmosphere, whether it's the bright, cheerful glow of the toy store or the eerie shadows in the deserted department stores. But it's not just the environment that has been updated, the zombies themselves have gotten a facelift. In the original, the undead hordes could sometimes look more goofy than terrifying. Now, they're far more detailed and menacing. You can see torn clothes, decaying flesh, and even individual wounds on some of them. It makes the experience of fighting through a sea of zombies feel even more immersive. As for the character models, there's been a lot of debate in the community about whether the remaster designs are an improvement or a downgrade. Frank West, for example, looks far more polished and realistic, but some fans miss the rough, slightly cartoonish vibe of his original design. The same goes for other characters like Jesse and Brad. Personally, I think it's a matter of preference. The remastered models are definitely more detailed and fit the tone of the game, but I can see why some purists might feel nostalgic for the old look. On a side note, one thing I do have to mention is the removal of the erotica photo genre. For those who don't know, the original game had a quirky photograph mechanic where Frank could take pictures of various objects, action, horror, drama, and yes, erotica for points. The remaster has removed the erotica category entirely, which feels a little inconsistent. I mean, this is still a game where you can mow down zombies with a lawnmower, so why draw a line there? And or have updated character models that look like this or this. Please, kind of ridiculous if you ask me, but what do I know? What do you guys think about this change? Let me know down in the comments. One of the more noticeable updates in the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is the completely recorded voice acting for most of the main characters. Now, I'll be honest, this is one of those changes that takes a little bit of getting used to. Frank West's voice, for example, feels different. There's a certain smooth talker charm to the original Frank that I think is missing here. His new voice isn't bad by any means. It's a little more rugged and a bit southern, but if you're a fan of the original, you'll definitely notice the difference. The same goes for other characters like Jesse and Brad. While some of the new voices are fine or even good, I feel like they lack the personality that made the original cast so memorable. It's not a deal breaker, but it's one of those things that will stand out if you spend hours with the original game. For newcomers, the updated voiceovers won't feel out of place at all. They are just part of this refreshed experience. Next up, let's talk about the character menu, because this is one of the areas where the remaster truly shines. If you played the original, you remember how clunky it was to navigate Frank's stats, cases, and survivor info. The remaster completely revamps the system, making it more user-friendly and packed with useful features. The menu is divided into four main sections. Frank's status tab. This tab is your hub for tracking Frank's progress. It displays his levels, skills, and key items, all in a clean, easy to read format. One of the most satisfying parts of Dead Rising is leveling up and unlocking new abilities, and this tab makes it simple to see how far you've come. Whether it's unlocking new combat moves, increasing your health, or boosting your inventory slots, everything feels streamlined and rewarding. Next is the Notebook tab. This is where the real magic happens. The Notebook is divided into several subcategories, each designed to make your life easier. Case files. This tracks your progress in the main story, showing both active and completed cases. It's perfect for keeping track of the narrative without having to rely on memory. The Survivors subtab. This is a huge improvement. Every survivor you encounter gets their own profile, complete with their name, age, and any specific items that you might need. No more guessing what your survivors want or struggling to remember who you've already saved. It'll be all right there. The dialogue. Remember Otis and his endless stream of transceiver calls? Well, now you can revisit all those conversations in the dialogue. It's a small feature, but it's nice to have. The challenge subtab. This is a game changer for completionists. Instead of looking up achievements online, you can see them all right here, along with rewards for completing them. It's a great way to stay motivated and track your progress as you go. The photo album tab. Frank's photography skills are back and better than ever. The photo album lets you lock and delete pictures, track PP stickers, and relive your best moments. If you're trying to level up quickly, make sure you snap photos of PP stickers scattered throughout the mall. They're worth a ton of experience points. Next is our System tab. This is just your standard setting menu where you can tweak your controls and return to the title screen. Nothing groundbreaking, but it gets the job done. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into the gameplay. If you played the original, you know that Dead Rising has always been about chaotic fun. The remaster keeps the spirit alive while making some key improvements that brings it closer to modern gaming standards. The first thing you'll notice is how much smoother everything feels. Frank's movements are faster and more responsive, making it easier to dodge zombies, aim weapons, and navigate tight spaces. Combat in particular feels more satisfying. Swinging a baseball bat or slicing through zombies with a katana has never felt better. The Survivor AI is another area where the remaster really shines. In the original, escort missions could be frustrating because survivors would get stuck on walls or ignore your commands. Now, they're much smarter and more responsive, making it less of a headache to get back to the safe room. That being said, this is still Dead Rising, so don't be surprised if a survivor does something hilariously dumb once in a while. Boss fights, on the other hand, with Psychopaths remain one of the highlights of the game. These encounters are just as intense and over the top as ever, but they feel a bit easier and less balanced than the original, especially if you manage to grab yourself the machine gun from the back of the convict's jeep. It makes taking down Psychopaths exceptionally easy. Just be aware if you have a survivor when you go to take on a Psychopath that you do not need to carry them because you won't be able to carry your machine gun and the survivor at the same time unless you, of course, run back and forth the entire time, which can be done and is worth it, just saying. Some zombie changes I had noticed while playing the remasters that zombies seem way more aggressive than the original game. In the original, you could often maneuver through hordes without too much trouble, but in the remaster, it feels like zombies are constantly lunging at you and grabbing whenever they get the chance. It's especially noticeable when you're trying to squeeze through tight areas, and it almost feels like the zombie AI has been tuned a little too high. At times, this aggressiveness feels less like a deliberate challenge and more like a bug in the interaction between Frank's hitbox and the zombie AI. There were moments where it felt like zombies were able to grab me even when I was clearly out of range or moving past them. Or in the middle of an attack animation, a zombie would grab Frank out of it. It doesn't ruin the experience, but it definitely adds an extra layer of frustration in certain areas, especially when you're scoring survivors and need to stay mobile. Now let's talk about one of the more annoying additions. Zombie cops with insane aim. In the original game, zombie cops weren't much of a threat. They were slow, clunky, and easy to avoid, but in the remaster, these guys feel like they graduated from the police academy posthumously because their aim is ridiculously good. They'll pull out their gun and hit you with pinpoint accuracy, which can be incredibly frustrating when you're trying to lead a group of survivors back to the safe room. It doesn't help that they seem to prioritize Frank over the dozens of other zombies shambling around. If you don't take them out quickly, they'll keep chipping away at your health, so be sure to prioritize them when you encounter them. It's a small change, but one that definitely ups the challenge in certain parts of the game. One of the more subtle but useful new features in the remaster is the ability to speed up time. For those who don't know, Dead Rising operates on a real-time clock system with events and missions occurring at specific times. In the original, this meant you often had to wait around if you finished something early or had some downtime before the next case started. The remaster introduces a speed up time feature, which is a great quality of life addition. You can now skip ahead to the next major event or mission without having to stand around doing nothing. Personally, I found this feature especially helpful towards the end of the game when you're waiting for the helicopter to arrive. It's a small change, but it makes the pacing feel much smoother and more player friendly. One thing I wanted to mention is I would say you probably do not need to use this feature at any other point if you're following the main story while trying to rescue all the survivors. Another big improvement in the remaster is the addition of durability bars for weapons and items. In the original game, figuring out how many swings you had left with a weapon was a complete guessing game. Sure, you could see the weapon fading in and out of existence, but it was always a guess when it was actually about to break. With the durability bars, it's much easier to determine when an item will break, and it's nice to see how the durability magazine impacts the longevity of your items. Pro tip, make sure you get the edged weapon magazine and chainsaws from Adam. It's worth it. Overall, the durability bars give you a clear visual indicator of how much life your weapon has left. It's a simple change, but makes a world of difference. You can plan your attacks more strategically and make sure you're always carrying a backup weapon in case your favorite one breaks. For a game that's all about improvisation and resource management, this is an incredibly welcome addition. At the end of the day, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is everything I hoped it would be. It takes a beloved classic and breathes new life into it, making it more accessible for a new generation of gamers while still retaining the charm and chaos that made it special in the first place. Sure, some of the changes, like the removal of the erotica genre, might be divisive, and there are still a few quirks here and there, but overall, this remaster is a love letter to fans of the original. Whether you're a die-hard Dead Rising veteran or someone who has never stepped foot in the Willamette Mall, this is a game you don't want to miss. After beating the game and playing through once, I am going to continue on and play through again, and maybe even once more. The nostalgia of the old game with the modern graphics improvements and AI have some awesome changes to this game that were much needed. Sure, some aspects of the game were removed to appease modern audiences, but that is no reason to not play this game. It's basically everything you know and love about the original Dead Rising. And who knows, maybe enough noise from the fan base could push to add the cut content back into the game. Well, that's it for today's video review of Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more reviews and gaming content. And if you have any ideas for the next video, let me know. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.